Hello and welcome to a new video. In this video, I'm going to be doing a mid lane tier list for patch 2.1a. In this video, I'm going to be covering all the mid lane champions except Katerina because she is new, but all of the other champions and giving you what tier I think they are, S being the best and D being the worst. Throughout the video, I'm going to be giving you the reasoning behind why each champion is in a certain tier, and also if I put them lower than you expected, why they are lower, or if I put them higher than you expected, then I'll give you some reasons why I put them up that high or low. Also, I just quickly want to be telling you that I am going to be doing a new giveaway announcement at the end of this video. So if you want to stick around for that, then that'd be awesome. And a shout out to this guy who stuck around to the end of my last Katerina guide. So a big thank you to him for staying all the way. It really is encouraging for people who do that. So with that being said, let's get right into the tier list. So in the S tier, we have Orianna, an amazing control mage that just thrives throughout the entire game. During the early laning phase, she has enough poke and her shield from her third skill to help win every trade, and as well as a passive that just stacks damage onto an enemy and allows her to just chunk her enemy out of lane. During the mid game and late game, her team fighting ability is just amazing, and she's able to dish out a lot of damage with her abilities and has an impactful ult that deals a bunch of damage as well as combos into other people's ults. So after that, in the A tier, we have Twisted Fate. And the reason why Twisted Fate is A tier is because in high elo, he has such great roaming potential. He has the potential to impact any lane and make any skirmish a man up with his ganking ability and his ult. And also he has a stun card that in late game, once you do hit that stun, it's basically a free kill for your team because the stun deals a lot of damage as well stuns for a significant amount of time. So after that, we have Ahri, and Ahri is a great assassin that can just pretty much, she doesn't have too many really bad matchups in the game. She has a way to deal with every single champion in the game, and there's no really super hard matchup that she just loses. So the reason why she's so high up is also she has the ability to snowball games and just get chain kills. Also, she has her second skill to basically escape any gank or combo. This skill is really underrated, and I know some people use it incorrectly, but if she has that skill up, it's super hard to gank her or go for an all-in on her because she just uses that skill and now she is basically out of your combo or out of your gank, and she can get out of really bad situations with that skill. Next up in the A tier, we have Asol, and why he's not in the S tier, and I know some people think that he's an S tier champ, is because he gets really hard countered by champions like Fizz and Yasuo, who have gap closers and can gap close onto Asol. So currently, I do think Twisted Fate is a bit better than Asol, but Asol is definitely still viable if you have really good spacing and you have really good game knowledge and you can time your ganks properly. So Twisted Fate and Asol are kind of in the same category. However, I think Asol is just a little bit weaker, even though he does have the potential to do more damage. If you do blind pick him, then people can just pick Fizz or Yasuo or a counter to Asol, and then you'll just get destroyed. So after Asol, we have Annie in the A tier, and I know this champion has been kind of slept on. However, I feel like she's just a great champion because it's really hard to just kill her, and she has like a stun and enough damage to burst people down, as well as enough sustain so that she doesn't get one-shotted immediately. She also has a bunch of potential in team fights with her Tibbers stun, and combined with Flash or Proto Belt, if she lands it, it's almost an automatic kill if she does have a teammate to follow up. So that's why Annie is in the A tier, and I know a lot of pro players have been picking her up recently and been playing her and ripping around with her in the Wild Rift. So Kennen is also in the A tier. So the reason why Kennen's in the A tier is because I believe that he's really impactful with his ult and his stuns, and he can just carry team fights with his ultimate and stuns if used properly. There's really nothing more to be said about Kennen. He's just super OP with his utility and stuns. I don't think anyone will disagree. I do think that he is better in the Baron lane, where he does counter a lot more champions like Garen, Darius, or Jax. However, he's still a force to be reckoned with in the mid lane, where he can quickly join skirmishes and team fights a lot easier. And my last pick for the A tier might be a little bit surprising to you, but it is Camile. And the reason why I put Camile in the A tier is because her utility and the way you can use her and all the outplay potential that you have with her kit is absolutely insane. So if you are playing Camile and you play her well, then you can just carry games from the mid lane. She has amazing potential in small skirmishes and in ganks. Her ultimate provides a lot of utility, as well as with her shield passive, she can win lane really easily and really win mid prio, which is really important for getting those objectives. And once your mid lane is winning, it's a lot easier to impact the rest of the map. So that's why Camile is in the A tier. If you do disagree with me, then leave a comment in the comment section down below. Next up, we have the B tier. And in the B tier, our first champion in the B tier is Gragas. And Gragas, I think he's a little bit overrated right now. If people are smart, then they can dodge his combos. And it's really hard to hit a great Gragas ult when you are playing against high elo teammates. However, he is still a force to be reckoned with, and his versatility in build is probably the best in the game. He can be played as a more tanky champion, he can be played as a full damage champion. If you're having a hard time in lane, you can go with a full regeneration build. There's so many variability in Gragas, so he could be A tier or B tier. If he is in B tier, I would put him at the top of B tier. So I feel like Gragas is just a really solid pick right now, but a little bit overrated, so I wouldn't put him into high A tier. I still think that all the A tier champs that are currently in the A tier are a bit better than Gragas. However, do not overlook him, and yeah, he's just a great pick overall. The next champion in the B tier is Zed. And the reason why Zed is in the B tier is because if you know how to play against him properly, you can punish him really hard. And he kind of falls off in the late game, where all the other champions in the A tier don't really fall off too hard as much as Zed does. However, he also does have some counters, and people can counter pick him. Like if they pick Fizz, then basically his ult is rendered useless after Fizz uses his third skill, and things like that. So Zed, he can be used. However, right now in the current meta, I don't feel like he is a solid A tier pick, as well as most other assassins. I just feel like they're a bit weaker inside this patch, and it really makes me sad because I am mostly an assassin main. I love playing Zed, I love playing Fizz, I love playing Ahri and Yasuo. However, I just can't claim that they are the best in the current meta. If you are playing him in low elo, he can seem like a really powerful champion. However, higher up in elo, people know how to deal with him and punish him. Even though you may think that he is a range champ, no, he is actually melee, and people will punish him for being a melee champion. So after Zed, we have Ahri. And Ahri, I feel like she has been weaker before, but now people are learning how to play her and utilize her ult at the maximum capacity. She has a lot of roaming potential and ganks, and also with her charm, she can set up a lot of kills. However, in higher elo, people know how to dodge this, and they know how to look out for cooldowns. And Ahri is still a really solid pick. I would say one of the better mid laners. However, I think that the mid laners that have been mentioned before are just a tad bit better than Ahri. So after Ahri, we have Fizz. And Fizz is the champion that I main, and I love playing Fizz. However, in the current meta, I don't think that he is super duper good right now. He can one-shot people. However, his early game, like levels 1, 2, 3, 4, are not really the best. People know how to deal with him, and he can just get poked down really hard, so he has to give up a lot of CS in the early game. However, if you do get to the mid game, you can snowball your lead and absolutely crush people. He can also be a hard counter champions, like I already said, to Aurelian Soul, and champions like Twisted Fate and Aurelian Soul, so that he's a really good pocket pick to have. However, in all of the matchups, he isn't that great, especially if the enemy team has a lot of tankier champions, like a bruiser in the top lane such as Darius, or in the bot lane you have champions that are more tanky, like tankier supports, or Lulu who has been thriving in the current meta, who does counter a lot of assassins, that does counter Zed and Fizz. So that's why they are in the B tier. So after Fizz, we have Seraphine, and Seraphine mid isn't played too often. However, I love playing Seraphine mid, and that's actually one of my most played champions inside the mid lane. I feel like she's really slept on and not a lot of people play her. She used to be a bit weak to assassins, however she does have ways to deal with it, and her damage in the laning phase is quite high because I have been able to get even solo kills onto melee assassins like Fizz, like Zed with Seraphine, if you know how to play melee versus ranged properly. Seraphine also scales into the mid to late game really well, and she is able to hit those combos and set up kills for her entire team. After Seraphine, we have Yasuo, and I know a lot of Yasuo one tricks or Yasuo mains will be mad at me for putting Yasuo so low on this tier list. However, I just feel like he isn't the best in solo queue. Maybe in team queue where your teammates know how to follow up with him, or when you have a lot of knock up on your team, he can be useful. However, he gets really hard punished in high elo, especially because he has no way to CS from long range, like no consistent way of doing that, as well as no escape tool. So I often see Yasuo's get camped, and he really needs to get ahead to remain relevant in the game. If he dies just once or twice, that can just be the end of the Yasuo game for him, because Yasuo has no real skills to engage from far away. He's either all in or nothing. Like, he can either super hard carry games or just feed. There's no really in between, because Yasuo requires you to get in there and to get into the enemy team to really dish out damage. You can't really damage people from far away. So either you end up really fed, or you just end up feeding, and often I see the latter happening because he has no escape tool, because his teammates don't know how to play around him. However, I feel like all of the champions right now in the mid lane are pretty viable up to the B tier. So all of these champions are viable in high elo, just that some are a bit better than others. So after Yasuo, we do have Lux, and Lux has actually been gaining popularity in high elo. I see her being played a bit more often. Supports like Lux and Seraphine in the mid lane are really great if you do have an ADC that has lots of carry potential. For example, if you have Jinx in the side lane and you do play Lux or Seraphine, you can have basically a double support, and these champions scale a bit better into the late game than other assassins. Later in the game, they become much more useful, and especially Lux, her burst damage I feel like is a bit underrated. She can just one-shot champions if she does hit her full combo. Also, if you do look for Fog of War skill shots, that can also be great at getting picks. Lastly, in the C tier, we have Evelynn and Ziggs. And I know a lot of you guys may think that Evelynn mid is still viable. However, I feel like that she can only be picked into really squishy team comps, and she's just better in the jungle role overall. Especially in high elo, people just ping you when you are missing as Evelynn, so it's really hard to get those kind of picks. However, if you are playing her in the mid lane, I would only recommend picking her into kind of squishier team comps so that she can get that snowball rolling and she can get those kills. Other than that, I feel like she's not too strong in the current meta. The next champion is Ziggs, and I know a lot of people have been thinking that Ziggs is better in the current meta. However, I just have to disagree. In team play, maybe he is a bit better if you know how to play around him, if you know how to play for objectives and how to take down those turrets. However, in solo queue, I feel like he's really hard to play. He does have a lot of utility with his bomb and how he can detonate it to jump over different structures. However, I just still think that he is not stronger than any of the mid laners above him, and he's probably one of the most weakest mid laners in the current meta. He does have a lot of poke, but his damage is just lacking in comparison to all of the other mid laners who have more utility with their stun or just outright out damage him. So that's why I think he's a bit more weaker. However, all of these champions are viable in certain situations, and I don't think in low elo it matters too much what champion you play if you have good macro and map awareness and you are playing towards those fundamentals. Alright, so I want to thank you so much for watching. If you did make it all the way to the end, then I want to thank you so much, and leave a comment saying that you did so I can give you a shout out in my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate every single one of you. Also, I'm going to be doing a new skin giveaway event on my Discord server where I will be choosing the best meme from my Discord server, so you can just submit your memes and I'll just pick the funniest one or the most relatable one as a winner, and they will win a free skin for Wild Rift. So if you want to join in on that skin giveaway event, the Discord link is in the description down below. By the way, tell me if you did enjoy this video and if you want to see more tier lists. And if you do want to see more tier lists, what kind of tier list do you want to see? Like tier lists for which role or whatever other tier list that you want to see. Also, thank you for the people that did provide gameplay for this video. I will link all of their channels in the description, so big thanks to them. And with that, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye!